Women have always been at the forefront of organising workers' rights in the UK. Let me tell you about the Headscarf heroes of Hull. So, back in the 1960s, Hull was a major fishing town and was actually responsible for 25% of fish eaten in the UK. In 1968, 3 fishery boats drowned in the space of 3 weeks, killing 58 men. Poor quality boats, lack of radio and communication back to land, untrained fishermen were only some of the reasons cited for the drownings. So a group of women in Hull stepped up to petition the fishing industry to create better working conditions for their loved ones. One of the ringleaders of this group was called Big Lil, or Lily Billiker. She passed her work one day and went to the docks instead and said, "I'm going to check every single boat to make sure it's up to code, and I will not let anybody leave this port unless I'm satisfied." She made the argument that any one of those men could have been her husband, brother, or son, and she didn't want her town held to ransom by the fishing industry making profit off of lackluster conditions. Lily travelled all over the UK visiting other women's groups whose husbands and fathers worked in precarious industries. At the end of the 1960s, the UK fishing industry was actually named the most dangerous job in the world. When Lily would convene these community groups of women, mothers, and children, she would advise them to picket businesses, how to convince their husbands to strike, and how to sustain strikes. Lily set a precedent for women against pit closures, who in the 1980s, a decade later, would help sustain the miners' strike by feeding, by organising pickets, and by learning to lobby the government. At the height of Lily's petitions, she threatened the Prime Minister to strike in front of his home until he did something about trawler safety, and he took her up on it. Harold Wilson, the Prime Minister at the time, invited Lily into Number 10 and asked her what the women's demands were. She demanded better safety on boats, mandatory training for all fishermen heading out to sea, a working radio for every trawler that would leave the port so that the men could communicate back on land if anything went wrong. These seem like simple demands today, but she actually faced a smear campaign by the owners of the fishing industry in Hull, who labelled her as too boisterous, a dangerous woman who wouldn't listen to her husband and stay in her place. Lily was totally undeterred. By the end of the 1960s, all of her demands were met. The fishing industry was overturned with regulation, and the fishermen saw a massive decline in deaths at sea. I can thank Big Lil and the Headscarf heroes of Hull for starting the momentum of workers' rights being passed in the UK. Still many precarious industries here today, and we face new challenges like 0 hours working, the gig economy, and the grey economy, where migrants and undocumented people work in precarious conditions just to feed their families. Although the UK is not as industrial as it once was, we're a service economy now, and there's still many working class men working behind the scenes in kitchens,